that you played with against all year, and then to beat them down the stretch of the biggest event that we have, because it's a small event, you have to earn your way here. Yeah, it was satisfying.
But it's a great story because of how you describe it and the influence.
Yeah, sometimes you just feel things. You don't have to go find them. You just step on property and there it is.
So it's a great discussion. I want to ask Mark and then Alan to comment. We're just going to turn this over to Q&A, but does this kind of work have a future in golf and life? And also, what do you think about the future of golf? What's it going to look like?
I think there was a great awakening in this sport when, coincidentally, Michael Murphy's book came out, and all of a sudden players are figuring out that there's more to this game than just hitting the golf ball. That John had intimated this whole thing. There was just a feeling. I got here, I'm a West Coast guy, I felt what was going on. And, I had told you earlier in the clinic today that, I was about ready to quit the game in 1984 until I read Michael Murphy's book, and I found out that there's something more than X's and O's. We look at John Pay, and we look at Tim McKyer, and these guys, there's X's and O's with these guys, and their brute strength, it got them through their sport. But in golf, it's the finesse, it's the intangible, and so I'm looking at my daughter right now these days, and this is great. My daughter's young. I'm 72. My daughter is 18 now. Don't do the math; it doesn't add up. And I look at what she's doing. She's got all these positive affirmations. She writes them on a little card, and they're pasted on her little. She's got her pull cart with her umbrella and a little chair seat. How about that? They've got these little things. They have to have a little umbrella stand on their cart in case they poor little things get too hot out there. No, they've got these positive affirmations, and these are the affirmations that I've constantly gone through in my career in golf. You're not as bad as you think you are. You're actually pretty good. You need to do this. Golf is great. You love this place, even though you're just kind of talking to yourself. So I'm looking at all the college kids, and my daughter's playing in a pretty big league. 150 girls at each event, and I'm saying, wow, her whole team has these positive affirmations written on their little golf cart, little post-its on their golf cart. I'm saying, wow, the game has come a long way since I played it. So now everyone, Michael, is aware that there are some other things involved besides the actual X's and O's that you see on the golf course. John and Bobby, you guys know it. There's something else out there, and golf exposes what is out there more than I think any other sport, because it's such a solitary game, and it's all about you and your mind.
So it's really nice to see, to your example, generationally how this game is being translated onto younger people and actually showing up. In our view, that's the real strength of the theme of Micah's book of ITP. It's our ability to translate this into culture and society. Lots of trouble in sports and business and art, etc. So a story about your kids.
It is. It's incredible to walk through my daughter's life now. I get to go to Doral and watch her play in the next event this weekend. And where I played at Doral forever, as a PGA Tour player, the Doral Eastern Open. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah.
And then the Doral Ryder Open, and then, so now I get to go back. But I played golf with Alan today, Alan Shipman, you guys, great guy, awesome rider from Salinas and now lives in Carmel. But, John and Bobby and I, we played at the highest level for a long time. John played at a much higher level than Bobby and I did. John was a real champion. I mean, Bobby and I, we've got 2 wins between us, and John, you had 11.
I never made it to the Schwab Cup.
And you had 11 wins. So between us all, we have 13 wins. Thank you. But Alan, you're out there all the time, and I would like a statement from you. What are you seeing about these kids? And I refer to Scotty Scheffler as a kid, and I refer to Jordan Spieth and all these guys. What is it out there? Is it just the X's and O's? Is it just their coaches? What do you think is getting them to this level these days?
Right, well, and watching hit the ball today, Mark, I would think that you would have won 11 times on the PGA Tour.
You didn't watch me putt.
That's what I've seen as I've traveled through golf, and whether you're at the Korn Ferry or you're the Latino American Tour or the PGA Tour, on the range, everybody looks like they're a PGA Tour player. The caliber of athlete, the technique is tremendous, and it's the biggest question in sports is what separates those who become elite from those who struggle. And now, if you look at NBA or NFL, sometimes it's just raw physicality. But golf, it's so much about the inner game. The ball's just there rocking you, and that's really the differentiator. Is like all these guys have this physical skills, and so I think Michael's book is a little bit of a X-ray of the soul, and it tells you kind of what's inside some of these golfers that they can do it, and some that can't.
So who are the guys you feel right now that feel this, sixth or seventh sense that, Michael Murphy talked about and that John has talked about having to feel out here, and Bobby Clampett obviously knows it as well. But what do you feel, who do you feel has that? Is it Scotty Scheffler, who swings like a person that doesn't even know how to play golf and gets it done? Does he get it done mentally, or who else is out there? Jordan Spieth. I mean, when he was,
it used to be Speed, yeah, that supernatural ability to get the ball in the hole. With Scotty, he's this rare breed where he makes the most birdies and he makes the fewest bogeys. That's why he's so unbeatable. Usually, if you have a lot of firepower, it comes with a certain number of mistakes, but Scotty has this incredible discipline and this tenacity that it's rarely been seen. And of course, his ball does not know how funny his swing looks. The ball only knows what it's being told to do. And in the impact zone, it's elite. So, but that's I think why people still come to Michael's book, is because sports in general and golf in particular has become so data driven. And now everybody on tour has a statistician and someone who tells them how to play every hole. And you can see this. There's certain holes now where everybody hits driver, where in the past they used to always lay up because they run the numbers. They just hit driver. On the 10th hole Riviera, you want like to make birdie. In the old days, guys would do 2 iron and aim at the bunker. And, it's just you can go on down the list. And the game has become so data driven, but that doesn't explain that ephemeral difference in players. And for that, you need a high priest. And that's what Michael turned out to be for a lot of golfers. It's not about that.
So who is out there right now, besides the obvious Rory? You're doing a book on him. Who is getting the most out of their game with the least amount of talent? Because that's what I think we're trying to figure out here, is, how is this guy getting it done?
Yeah, I mean,
We can only answer that question in private.
no, I mean, I would say it's the opposite. There's so many guys who are not getting enough out of their talent that they're getting in their own way. Colin Markowie, who I'm out here, who's struggling. George Spieth, Justin Thomas. There's so many players who feels like they're not playing up to their ability. There's not many guys that feels like we're eking out. Maybe it's Denny McCarthy who hits a 250 off the tee, but he has an ability to will the ball into the hole that's supernatural. We all know putting is such an internal battle, and so I think it's gone the wrong way, where players are not maximizing, they're being stunted because there's too much data, there's too much swing analysis, there's too much TrackMan, and they're starting to lose that feel and that unique ability. And so it's hard to come up with a name because I feel like it's going the other direction.
Maybe not enough Ben Crenshaws out there.
Exactly.
And that's what I feel. But Scotty Scheffler is the guy to me that, as much as everybody's trying to make their swing perfect, you really don't have to be perfect in the swing to get it done. So I look at Scotty Scheffler as being a kind of an example of what Michael Murphy is saying here. It's like, it doesn't matter what your swing looks like. Tiger was trying to be perfect. He was perfect in 2000, yet we're here in 225. And, you know, he's not so perfect anymore because he broke himself. But, so I'm just wondering, you know, are we gonna get past this now, or where are we? I mean, is it just gonna be raw talent, or are we gonna go Michael Murphy's way?
Well, I think we all in this room know which answer we want that to be. But it's, you know, the game has just changed. I mean, I think 10 years ago I wrote, you need a 9,000 yard golf course to really test the pros. If you want them to have some 3-shot par 5s and some long irons in the par 4s. You know, 700 yards is a joke for these guys now. And so it's just become such a power game. And it's the finesse that makes golf so beautiful. And that's increasingly disappearing. And
Danny McCarthy's.
yeah, you need more artists than scientists. But right now, I think the pendulum swung in that direction. Maybe after the rollback, which is coming, you know, the USGA is rolling the ball back, and that may change it a little bit. And then maybe we'll want just on the shot making and less on just the pure power. But it's been moving in one direction for a long time.
Well, I think the idea here, by the way, with this event is that you don't necessarily have to have a game to play really well, to do something extraordinary. I know, speaking for myself, I have the least amount of talent, and I am getting the least amount out of my game. So I'm looking forward to these teachers improving and doing something. It's all the above. At any rate, we want to just sort of stimulate everybody out here because we want you to ask whatever's inside of you. So we will just turn this over to Q&A right now.
Barry, can I just make a?
Please, Sharon, please.
I want to make an observation, and then I want to tell a little story about that. One is money is moving into golf big time, and I think that is having a deleterious effect on the sport.
What does that mean?
Deleterious.
Is that down or up?
It's bad.
That's a word they use at Stanford University.
Okay.
So the point is that the influence of money is influencing things like let's track the stats, let's get, let's go all this way. And it is taken away from the mystical side of the game, which I think this organization needs to exist to fight against that. So what I want to say is, yeah, there's a big push to move towards stats or numbers or something that is objective. And there is too much subjective in the game, and I think we're going to lose that. And I think money is a big part of it.
Totally.
So I think it's okay that money is moving, and we all need money. This organization needs money. We need to bring in money. Okay, money makes things work, but I think it is imperative that we continue to push organizations like this because we have to have the other side. We have to have it. And you guys, to me, are responsible. So thank you for being here because you're helping, but you're also responsible for perpetuating this side of the game because you know it. There are too many other people who don't. And I want to tell you this little story. This actually happened yesterday. A father wanted to go out with his daughter. She's 11 years old, good golfer, and a student of mine, but she'd been getting frustrated playing in some tournaments. And the dad said, what can you do to help her? So we got onto the first tee, and I said to her, as we were walking up to get ready to tee off, I said, her name is Sophia. I said, Sophia, what's your favorite shot?
Try.
Barry, what's your favorite shot? No. What's your favorite shot? No. What's your favorite shot?
This one.
Nope. Yeah, there it is. What's your favorite shot?
The next one.
The shot you're gonna hit right now is your favorite shot. The shot that's in front of you. So I said, first, yeah, are you nervous? Yeah. Are you gonna hit a good shot? I said, I am. But I said, is this your favorite shot? I said, yeah, I love this. So I said, that's what we're gonna do this whole time. I'm gonna ask you every shot, what's your favorite shot? And your answer is gonna be
This one.
the shot that I'm gonna hit right now. Okay? Did she hit a good shot on the first tee? No. She topped it about 4 yards. So I said, here's your 3-wood, or your fairway wood. There, hit that. What's your favorite shot? Oh, she said, I love hitting shots out of the fairway. Hit my 3-wood, right? The truth is, she didn't. She hated that club, right? But I made her say it over and over and over and over again. So we got through 7 holes in a playing lesson, and I can tell you that when we walked off, okay, instead of walking off with hunched shoulders, feeling beaten, that she had not accomplished much or hit very many good, she was walking on air. Right? This is what we can do. This is how we're going to change the game. We have to purposefully introduce the love of the game. Thanks to you.
Oh, very well said. And a beautiful statement about being in the moment, too. Living in the moment, which is what life is all about. And we've got some interesting things talking about young ones yet to come over there. So let's turn it over to the audience. All right. Any questions, comments? What happened today? What would you like to hear from this esteemed panel? Anything at all? Raise your hand. Annie, can you stand up?
Oh, sure. So, I wanted to ask John a question. Thank you for being with us, by the way.
Thank you.
And the question has to do with, the extraordinary holes, the mystery holes. I was just wondering, how can you reflect on your experience going through those holes here today? What did you notice?
I wanted to make a 1 on the 6th hole.
That 400 yard drive.
No, I don't hit it that way. I thought it was, I love the blindfold.
What did
We
you
had
like
like a
about
30 footer, and like, I've kind of trained that way a little bit with my eyes closed and putting to an imaginary hole, stuff like that. So I knew how long it was, and it was like 30 feet, and I left just short. So I felt that. And then I talked to the gentleman that was there, and he asked, what were you feeling? I said, well, this is something I've done. So this is something I've learned, kind of how to do that. The other 4 guys in my crew had no clue. One of them missed the ball completely. Just make a stroke. Let the ball get in the way of your swing. So I enjoyed that. I thought it was fascinating. The no talk hole I loved.
Sounds great, wasn't it?
And you know why.
Yeah, I know.
And I love the guy completely. Wow. I can take a hole off right now. Thank you. But that's kind of how I play. I didn't say I would when I played. We all played so much golf together and competed. I wasn't a big talker anyway, so I can talk off the course, but once you get inside those ropes, so I kind of like that hole. That was probably my favorite hole. The no talk zone. Timmy hated it, of course. The blanket.
Any other questions?
Very much ties into that, with where we can go with this. Can we go deeper into that and not make this a normal pro-am, right? And make this even more into the mystery and more into what Mr. Jones was talking about, doing it differently, right?
Well, we can really pick up on that, Peter, because we're really looking to take this, as we talked about in the clinic today, to take this to a new level next year. So one of the things we want to ask each and every one of you who participate is so that we can do that, so we can explore deeper into these mysteries of the game, which have never been explored before. And nobody's going to do it except us. So let's be that group, and let's invite our friends to come, and let's blow this thing out of the water, and let's get some sponsors next year. I already got a whole list of guys that have been influenced by Michael on the tour that are lining up right now to come play with us, but it's not going to happen unless we get some big sponsors to participate and take this to the next level. So thank you for mentioning that, Peter. Yes.
Great day, always good to be in front out here with you guys. More of an invitation and a question is, how do we translate Michael's book, your experience. I think for most of us, it's taken me all my life to start to go into this direction, right? How do we sculpt this for our youth so that, you know, I knew then what I know now, right? So how do we sculpt this to an invitation so that you can begin to experience, instead of just sort of a touch, but how do we invite that in? And how do we diversify this across cultures? Because in this climate that we're in, we need this voice out there, because the other voices are loud. So how do we?
This is your
begin
question.
to-
Michael Murphy question
Yeah.
there, for sure.
Well, thanks for that modest question. That's a big question. Well, I think it's, number one, is to say to ourselves that we are really, really explorers. And we're onto something. And I personally believe, I mean, certainly writing this book was the first book I ever thought to write. I didn't think to myself, as a writer, I started Desmond, et cetera. But it was a lucky shot. And how, why I did it, I still don't know. But I do know that it is an incredible, first of all, golf is an astonishing window into a lot, I mean, almost most of what is still invisible to us as humans. What's it all about? I mean, where is this whole world going? I mean, there are a lot of mysteries. And golf is so amazingly evocative for revelation. And so I think just to own the fact that we're in the earliest possible innings of a tremendous effort, not just confined, of course, to golf, not just to sport, but coming to terms with who we are and where we're going. But there's a lot of rich cues here, and to take ownership of what a marvelous situation it is, and what a marvelous activity, this innocent activity, which to a lot of highly intellectual folks is an absurdity. I have friends who, how can you play this game? Well, this game is a mother lode into our hidden possibilities. It really is. So I think just to take ownership of that and then start walking. And everybody in this room probably would have a hell of a good idea about what to do next year. I'll bet some of you have had some ideas sitting in the books today. I bet you, if we went around with some ideas, what could we add? That is a great question. So that's all I can say. Let's own this a fortunate situation, and then we're beginners.
You know, Michael, I've always wondered why this book hasn't been turned into a movie. I mean, this is it's a remarkable. Has it been?
Yeah,
Where have I been? What's the name of it?
A movie, yeah. Well, Clint Eastwood, we sold the movie rights to Warner Brothers a long time ago.
Right.
And they bought it for Clint, and he worked on it. He really did, but he finally said it's just beyond him how to do justice. So to make a long story short, I got involved with a venture to make a film. I'm not embarrassed by it, but you really don't have to go see it.
Was it that bad?
No, it was not bad, but.
But I thought Bagger Vance was a great movie. I thought.
Did you?
Yes,
Well,
I honestly did.
Well, that's what we gotta work with now. Bagger Vance. It's, oh God, I can't tell you what a tricky question this is for me. Making that movie really was by, in a certain way, descend into hell. And back up the other side. And one of the things I like to say to people when they want advice is, please don't try to make a feature film. Don't do it. I mean, unless you have a true call. But part of the reason, again, is the stupendous complexity of putting the world together that makes up the links of burning bush. First of all, that's kind of impossible. And Clint wanted Jack Nicholson to play Seamus McDuff. Now, I think that was a kind of brilliant idea. He would have pulled something out of his hat, you know, but it would have been improvised. He would have done it. And but they, the two of them, and then Sean Connery got involved in flying around in a helicopter and taking the ladder down onto the old course, and then Crail. They got it into their mind that that was the real place. And you know, the book, right in the book, was filled with incredible coincidences and weird events. There is a cave on Crail. I've never heard of Crail, but there's a legend out there that is the model for Golf in the Kingdom. Well, it wasn't, but and I've never heard of it. And there is that cave there. And then, oh God, I could go on listening to these coincidences, but anyway, if you want to get involved in a movie, I'll give you some advice.
I want to watch the first one. I guess it's Golf in the Kingdom too.
Well, you can get it on streaming.
Okay.
Make a search, but you don't have to do it. But it was fun. I was assigned to the perimeter of the Enterprise, which often happens to a writer on a golf set.
So you were like the Stan Lee in all the Marvel movies.
Well,
You got one scene.
I was, every offering I made was soundly rejected. Really, I mean, instantly. And they kept saying, you don't get it. You don't know movies, and it's true. It's true. It would be like me coming out and here's Hogan lining up, and I run out and say, you know, if you just think about a little way this way, I mean, the police would have to intervene. I mean, it's so it's out of my territory. I'd have to say that.
Has anyone seen the movie?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm so
That's
sorry.
amazing.
Some of us were there when it was filmed.
It's pitching for a remake.
There you go.
There we go.
RJ, to your comments, you know, this is the question, when something really interesting, paradigm shift comes along, how do we take it into our everyday lives? And how can we replicate this? How can we practice this? How can we develop it as well? And so that's why for our organization, ITP, we have groups, we have practice. You're in Aikido, it's a very similar thing as well too. There's a new paradigm, you work on this, you develop it, you create communities, you foster it. And, you know, with sports, I like to say that sports, it's a Trojan horse into social change. Because it most graphically demonstrates the extraordinary that you see right in front of your eye. It's on vivid display. So let's take it back to the audience though. I see that Dave, maybe you're with us. You guys get the Broadway Corrigan Award today for ending up on the Fleming Golf Course. It's a new award that we have. There's some hands up back there. Dusty.
I've got a question. First of all, thank you all for being here and putting up with those of us that don't love this game. So appreciate that. But I wondered if you all, I think, mentioned Northern California, Southern California, West Coast. Just wondering if there's something about this particular place that in golfing, but that is more mystic. This place to reach the world. How do we honor that, or if I'm just imaginary, being a California kid, but you all seem like you take some pride in that.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that, Dusty, because Mark and I were just talking about this, and I didn't share this with Mark, but all of us that play golf for a living have been inspired through certain events that happened in our youth that allowed us to have the inspiration to want to dedicate our lives to playing golf. And for all of us, we were so immersed as kids in this game and so inspired. So for me, I was living in San Francisco in the early to mid 60s, and our family were social members of the Olympic Club. And one afternoon, my stepfather said, why don't we go for a walk? So my stepbrothers and I and Mom went out onto the golf course. I was 6 years old. And I saw for the very first time a golf ball being struck. And my favorite place to go as a kid was Golden Gate Park. I loved going to the park. The majesty of that park still rings for me in my childhood memories. But when I got on the Olympic Club and started watching these first golf shots that I'd ever seen struck and started watching these white balls up against these beautiful ghost cypress trees and Monterey pines and landing, I was in awe of the game. And I turned to my mom, I remember that, and I said, what game is this? And she said, well, it's golf. I said, I want to learn to play. And she was like, sure, yeah, just another sport you want to learn to play. Right. And I kept begging her, and 4 years it took until after all this begging, she finally connected with the president of Quail Lodge, and he gave me a job, and Lee Martin started giving me lessons, and then on. But it was Mark, I want you to tell your story of when you were a kid right here at Harding Park.
Well, it was 1962. I was 10 years old, and my dad decided to bring me out here to this golf tournament at Harding Park. It's called the Lucky International Open. And I got my eyes fixed on a guy named Arnold Palmer. And I was able to watch him that day, and I thought the guy was so cool. I mean, anyone an Arnold Palmer fan out there? And I said, Dad, I want to be like this guy. I don't know what it is about him, but I want to be like this guy. So my dad got me a little set of golf clubs at AGE, which was some sort of a clearinghouse for the Marines or something like that. And I got a 357 iron and a 3-wood and a putter. And I just played my butt off for a long time, and just all because of Arnold Palmer. And what's really funny is that I got to play with Arnold Palmer a few times on the PGA Tour, one time in New Zealand. And then I ended up working for Arnold Palmer at the Golf Channel. And so it's amazing how a 10-year-old kid gets so influenced by a guy, and I kind of like follow him through his whole life. And I ended up working with him, or working for him. We both got cancer at the same time. We had this thing that, for some reason, it just, melded really well with us. We were good friends. And it all started right here in 1962 when Arnold Palmer played the Lucky International. So when I come here, I look at this and I say, wow, this is what got me started in the game. Memory lane.
Kelsey, did you get your question answered?
Close enough. I mean, there's something mystic, I guess, about California.
Well,
What is it, I guess?
I wasn't born in California, I was born in Ohio. We moved here when I was really going into third grade, Southern California again. I think my dad brought me up here for the '72 US Open at Pebble Beach. And been around the game a little bit, before then. But that kind of was like, okay, now I'm gonna go watch the greatest play at Pebble Beach. And once I stepped on Pebble Beach, it was like, this is over. This is as good as it gets. Southern Cal, there's nice golf courses. There's really good ones. Northern California, and Carmel up is, it's about as good as anywhere, honestly. And I always felt something about the ocean. Like I said, I grew up in the water. I grew up on a golf course. I grew up playing every other single game you could possibly play. But going to Pebble Beach in '72 on the ocean, that's what kind of transformed me into feeling energy from the water. Go to Hawaii, feel the same thing. come here, feel the same thing. Go to Pebble, feel the same thing. San Diego, feel the same thing. Because it's so close to, something about the ocean pull that I get.
It's so interesting you mentioned the 72 Open, because that was also transformational for me, and tying in Arnold Palmer with this. It was the first big tournament I'd ever been around, and Arnold Palmer was staying at Quail Lodge, where I grew up. And so his caddy, Creamy Carolyn, and I became like buddies. I was like always around, and I was with shag balls, in those days with baseball net for David Graham and others. And I was stuck for a ride. I was at Pebble Beach watching Arnold play a practice round, and I didn't have a ride home. I went into the pro shop at Pebble Beach and called my mom, and she says, I can't come get you. It's, and all the traffic, it's gonna take me a couple hours to get there. No, I can't do it. Find a ride. I go, well, how am I gonna get a ride back to Quail Lodge? I go, well, let's see. Oh, there's Mr. Palmer getting into his limousine right there. Let me go ask him for a ride. So being 12 years old, right, I walk right up. Excuse me, Mr. Palmer, I enjoyed watching you play today. By the chance, are you heading up to Quail Lodge? And he's got his chauffeur there, and he's got his manager, Mark McCormick, right there next to him. And he goes, why, yes, I am. I go, any chance I can catch a ride? And he looked at me with this ingenious smile on his face, and then he looked over at Ed Brown, his chauffeur, and Mark McCormick, his manager, and they all shrugged their shoulders like this. What do you do? And Arnold looked right at me in the eye, and he put his hand on my shoulder, and he says, sure, kid, come on in.
Thanks. The true stories are the best stories, that's good. And probably, you couldn't get away with it at any other age, but 12 years old.
Right? See, you can do those guys.
There you go.
You get away with it.
So Dusty, does that answer your question? Actually,
And I love Bobby, that transfusion right there, right? Like 12 years old, and that's what ITP is like, well, maybe
Something happened in that connection with Arnold. Arnold had that way about him, didn't he? Where you just connected with him. And I remember he and some friends of mine, mutual friends of ours, said, he wasn't doing well. He was, this was just before he died. And they said, if you're going to go see him, this would be a good time to do it. So I scheduled a trip up to Orlando, called him, and he said, sure, come on up and visit. He was in his office, and I spent the afternoon with him. And it was magical that whole afternoon. And I remember going back to my hotel room and writing down all of the conversation we had for the entire afternoon. But that was the effect of Arnold Palmer. And he was one of those individuals, and Kenny too, one of those individuals that when he said something to you, you listened.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And we all had those kind of people in our lives that have inspired us and moved us to be better than we would have been otherwise.
and he, I would say, Bobby, that I think he and Nicholas, but particularly he galvanized the tour at that point. The tour shifted, and he was charismatic as hell.
Yeah.
Just the way he tossed a cigarette was charismatic. And he walked around the golf course. But to consider, we're all here right now. This is Northern California. There is something about California in my world. Esalen Institute has kickstarted so many things. So many things have been developed out of this area. It is an area that is a fertile ground for the unusual and the new. So, at any rate, we also believe that there's something remarkable about this group of people and all the work that you do as well. And it's really good. And Eric, to your point, it's important to make a statement about what we stand for and who we are, and particularly more than ever in this day and age. So I've got a few more minutes. Any other questions? One here?
One more.
Right there. Please. Please.
So, part of, Adam, what you were saying about sport is so becoming so data-driven. So that's a piece I hear and understand. And then all of you and all of us are thinking about golf as in its spiritual dimension. One way of thinking of it in a mystical dimension, maybe more, that's more sort of in the golf and the kingdom way. One of the other things I think is sort of the ecstasy dimension, which isn't necessarily spiritual, or only spiritual, but it's sort of just opening, like the silent hole, when you just sort of open up to what's around you, and suddenly you're hearing and smelling and watching the wind go through the trees. And one of the things I noticed was there was this light fog that was covering the Olympic Club on the other side, right? So it was turning this landscape into almost, so there's that on the other side. But one of the things I think is, when I think about my kids and other people their age in the 20s and the 30s, one of the things that really resonates with them if spirituality doesn't, is somehow there's this concept of mindfulness that sort of does reach them. And that's something they're interested in, and that's something that they're willing to sort of be open to. So I'm just wondering if in this conversation, there's a way that way of looking at all of this could be a way to reach out to the non-Californians, non-ecstasy, another way to open people's minds to being in the moment, and then let the moment teach.
I think.
Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, and I think that every one of us up here has played golf alone as a kid. And only then, what's that?
You could do it alone.
You could do it alone. I would encourage people to get in touch with themselves in playing alone. I mean, as we're all growing up, our kids, our parents are saying, hey, just go play 9 holes. And that's where we kind of develop the feel for the game. And probably played as kids and wish we could play as kids more, as we are not kids. Like, I would just love to put on a new glove, a new set of spikes, a new whatever, and play golf alone as a kid and just have fun. And I wish we were able to do that more, John. I mean,
And when we were kids, it was using our imagination.
right, this putt will win the Masters.
This is to win the
putt.
US Open, right? And it's so funny because you were talking about that, and I was reminded of my very first Masters. I got invited to play the Masters for the first time when I was 18. And in the second round, I got paired with Sam Snead. I was 18, he was 68. And we played 3 holes together. Rain came in, we had a 4-hour rain delay, grabbed me, pulled me into the player dining, and we sat and talked for 4 hours. Then they called us out. We ended up not quite finishing the round. It was pitch dark the last 3 holes. They finally called it with 1 hole to play. And I went up to the clubhouse, looked at the scoreboard, and I was right on the cut line. I had 1 hole, I had to make a par to make the cut in my first Masters. And I was so nervous, I hardly slept a wink that night. And I had it all figured out, 3 wood off the tee, 6 iron under the green. I went onto the driving range, that was my plan. 3 woods and 6 irons all I hit on the practice range. And then I started walking I can still remember this like it was yesterday. I was walking down the 18th fairway. It's 8 o'clock, just before 8 o'clock in the morning. And Sam is over there on the tee hitting balls into Race Creek, warming up, which you could do back then. And he just came out to be my scorekeeper because he had already missed the cut, but that was the way they did things. And the whole moment. And as I'm walking down there, this thought came to mind. The 2 times you hit 3 wood off the tee in the practice rounds, you bogeyed the hole. Now, I had all night to think about that. But why would that thought suddenly pop into my mind at the most critical moment just before I'm ready to pull the club out of the bag? And it gets into this, are we playing by paper or are we playing by inspiration? And I always was very open, a lot of it because of Michael's book, was very open to, Ben Doyle would teach me also, he called it angel thoughts, and being open to those points of inspiration. And why do you think those thoughts at that certain time? So I looked at my caddy, Paul, who was an Augusta caddy, and I said, what do you think I should do? Driver 3 wood? He goes, so I thought, well, you know, I'm feeling inspired at this moment. It may not make all sense, but I don't want to hit that 3 wood. I want to hit the driver. So I pulled the driver out of the bag and hit the prettiest little baby cut right up the middle of the fairway. Hit an 812 feet from the hole and sank the putt for 30.
Wow.
And made the cut. But that's really what we're talking about here. And it's when you're in the height of competition and you have those moments where you're inspired. And that's what we're here to do, to inspire one another and share these stories. It does inspire us.
Great story. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, everybody. Please stick around because we have some remarkably cool awards and surprises to give you. But first, a big thank you to this panel. We're gonna do some announcements or detailed things. Jen, you have one last question?
I do, yeah.
Please stand up and let's hear.
So, hi, my name is Jen. I have built a business that marries trauma psychotherapy. It's a mind-body approach to heal trauma with performance coaching. And I've spent a lot of time on tour the last 2 years. And my sense of tour players is that they are very dissociated. There's a lot of pressure and they just kind of check out of the systems.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with mindfulness. I walked up to top 30 golfers the last year and have said, hey, I can show you how to get a drill and how to get into the flow state. And they reject it. What do you have to say about that? And how can we get them to practice this more? I know that's a totally loaded question, and I'm sorry for asking this in the last minute.
Well, it doesn't surprise me in today's players. Like we talked about, it's all data driven. It's, you know, hit a shot, look at the monitor, hit a shot, look at the monitor. They don't watch anything. We were talking about earlier today on, you know, how I practice, and I kept looking through a pane of glass. I mean, that was my feedback to a monitor. So that's probably something that they don't want to hear. They don't want to. They got the coaches. They got a chip out coach. They got a win coach. They got a putting coach. They got all these coaches that never, nutritionists, chefs. They got dog sitting coaches. They got, but they don't play by eye and feel very often. And what you're talking about, performance, is about eye and feel. And that's all I play. I never carried a yardage book. That was his job. My job is to see something and then perform and trust myself enough to hit it. So I'm we're all kind of our own performance coach, but I get what you're saying. They don't want to hear that. They are so data driven now. They take the feel and the eye out of it.
Go to the LPGA. Try them out.
There you go. Thank you.
Start somewhere.
Thank you. We're all football players. Depends on the football player, Tim. All right, we're gonna do a couple of things right now. First, we do want to let you know that we're very happy you're here. This is the largest fundraiser that ITP has. We appreciate your generosity. There is still an auction that's ongoing. There are some remarkable offerings available. Because of time, I'm not going to get the details, but one of them is this remarkable opportunity to be with Bobby and do a clinic at his home golf course. There's some amazing auction items, and that's still going until Wednesday.
It's another week.
Another week. So please help us, support us. We want to try and reach our goals here. Okay, yeah. So we have some awards, which are going to be interesting. And there's one here that's sort of special. But first off, you know, we have a winning team pro and a winning team non-pro. So I'm just curious, who do you think was the winning team pro?
Bobby Clampett.
Bobby Clampett, anybody else?
Got a loaded team.
Anybody else? What, you had all the ringers on your team? Anybody else have a thought? It was John Cook, first time. First time. That's a surprise. All right, we had some ringers out all day. And then coming in late, this is also interesting, winning team non-pro was Todd Rohr, Gerald Stratford, Richard Warren, and Jeff Kaplan. Thank you guys. Yeah. So the winning team, would you please stand up because we've got some awards for you. Raise your hand. Okay, a couple of others. Closest to the pin. Will you raise your hands for winning team non-pro? Right over there. Okay, good. All right. Oh, you get a year's worth of ITP membership for a year. We're lowering the $10,000 membership fee down to $5,000. Closest to the pin. Closest to the pin. Gerald Stratford. Gerald, are you here? 5 feet 8 inches. Really close. All right. This is interesting. Men's long drive. Men's long drive. Miguel. Robert. Gerald, are you here? Is Gerald here?
He just had to leave.
Would you accept on his behalf?
Of course.
All right. Long drive.
Music, the posters.
Long drive pro is Dennis Mitchell. A quick story about Dennis. 2 years ago, he came here. He was late. He didn't have any time to warm up. He just took his gloves out, went to par 3, and did a hole-in-one. And that's sort of what this event was. But I think this is the coolest award of all. So we have a category for long drive women, but we're also going to include long drive women and youth. Guess who won this award? Leighton Foster. Is it true that you outdrove your mom? Well, that's going to be an interesting ride home with the two of you. Tristan, how you doing up there, bud? Are you driving? All right. So, congratulations. Congratulations. Very cool stuff. So the last thing is the strangest shot. The strangest shot. So we've asked you to sort of pick a team captain and sort of describe the strangest shot. It could have been a remarkable shot. It could have been anything far out that happened throughout the day. So we're going to sort of vote democratically. So if you have a strangest shot and you're a captain, raise your hand. Jen, okay, now you get 60 seconds to convince the audience of your strangest shot. Can I get the other mic? Okay. Here we go. All right, Jen, 60 seconds. Go.
65 yards from the pin, light was coming into our eyes, a lot of shade, coyote over there, huge tree with a huge trunk and a huge branch sticking out, and we had to pick through the light, try not to get distracted by the coyote, onto the green, and somehow in 15 seconds I was able to make it onto the green, but one of my teammates got closer, but that was just a strange shot and really challenging.
Did you take out the coyote?
On the silent hole.
On the silent hole. Was the coyote quiet? It was okay? All right, so remember that one. So that's number one. Back there, would you hand the microphone behind you? Here we go. Please tell us your name.
Richard Woolman.
Richard.
We were on hole number 5, and we were hitting it pretty close all day, but we had some short birdie putts, like 5 footers or whatever, and we missed them a couple of times. We were trying too hard, and it wasn't quite happening. This hole, the pin was way back, we thought we had approached it well, but we had a 45 footer. And it doesn't happen all that often, but occasionally you get this kind of premonition that you go over and you go, yeah, I think this one might just go in. And it's like, I've got premonition feeling, took it back a little longer and just let it go. And they are good.
How far away?
45 feet.
Don't be shy. I mean, it could be strange, it could be far out, it could be really cool. Anybody else? Anyone else? Hands up, your hands up to Dusty.
Roger had a very similar shot that I had last year. It's just extraordinary. I don't know if you guys remember this or not. But we shot it up and went up and got up pretty high, and then all of a sudden, UFO. And went up into a black hole. So what we know is heaven. And George Leonard is there with Jackson Pollock and taking painting lessons. And then George wants to drop it directly into the hole. And it's so close, but then an orb comes out of nowhere. Because those don't know Sasquatch disguises himself as an orb. So what I did, I put it on the rock, like just a Bigfoot print right there. And I saw it. And then he went swam the reservoir and good Roger ball and a little bit. There
That's a true story, right? That's a true story. Is there another hand up here?
Was that on the invisible hole?
It was. Good promo, Peter. What? Eric, you got one? There's another one. Here we go. I got Eric over here.
Lay off the Tito, bro.
Oh, here we go.
Gee.
Eric.
This is not a most unusual shot, but it was the most unusual experience today. So from where I'm living to here should have been an hour and 10 minutes. I got up this morning, I looked at my map. That's right, it's gonna be an hour and 10 minutes to get here. So it's whatever it is, 47 miles. So I got in my car and I started driving and I had the map up and it was an hour and 10 minutes. And as I was driving and making progress here, the time that I would arrive was getting longer. In other words, I was getting closer, but it was taking me longer to get here.
Traffic.
And I kept watching, well, this is true, so I kept watching, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna be late, because I was trying to be early for that. I never wanted this body, so I was trying to be quite early, and I looked at it, so oh my God, it's like, I'm gonna be 5 minutes late, and I'm 2 miles closer. Wait. And so every mile that I kept going, I was like losing a minute. So I had the most unusual experience this morning of getting closer, but getting further away.
You got it? Are you on time?
No.
He still hasn't gotten here. I'm about to turn in just now.
No, but this was a real, this was so big. Sorry, that's my unusual experience, not a shot. But, you know, just, maybe it's coincidental with ITP, but you just experienced unusual, unexplainable, it was an unexplainable thing.
Time is relative.
That was from the earthquake. I think it was the earthquake. All right, let's get still behind. Peter, you over here?
Yeah, with our group, we failed to do anything that would be normally qualified as extraordinary. But on the blindfold hole, we all missed, but then we realized we still have to putt out. And so we had about 1.5 foot putt to finish it off, and miss. We three-putted the blindfold hole from about 15 feet. That's not unextraordinary, I don't know what.
That's unusual. That's very good. Thank you. Is there anybody else who wants to throw their hat in the ring for the strangest shots?
I want to throw this hat into whoever wins gets the unicorn hat.
Okay, thank you.
They're just throwing a hat in the ring.
You know, I've always said about Northern California, it's still weird. It's still weird. Wait a minute. Anyone else? Okay, so we're gonna vote by raising your hands, and this is all tabulated by Pricewaterhouse. It's incredibly accurate. So, Robert,
We need Shirley to clap, we need Barry, we need the Michelle meter.
well, we had that was the Clampett. But
Michelle
so we're gonna just use the hands. So, and where's Matt? Matt, you over there? So you wanna take like that side of the room? You got this side. Okay, so we're gonna read these, okay, so Jen, a quick recap of yours. Quick recap.
65 yards, huge tree trunk, huge branch, coyote over there, like different degrees of shade and light in the eyes, and boom, nails and hungry.
Yes, okay, everybody who liked it, who really liked the sound of the home, raise your hands.
She sounds the most sober.
By the way, bribes are completely available here. What was the second person? Who's the second person? Please, quick synopsis of what happened, of the stranger shot.
Somebody behind.
Hey, we need your synopsis of your shot again.
Richard.
We're voting on your shot.
Quick synopsis of the shot.
One sentence, non-attachment.
Non-attachment. Is that it? All right, everybody, raise your hands. I don't know. What happened though? Quick synopsis.
45 foot, your foot?
45 foot putt.
Got over the 45 footer.
There you go.
Let it go.
45 footer. Okay, raise of hands for the 45 footer. Okay.
He's not committed enough.
Who was the next one? Keep track.
Dusty.
Dusty, a quick, like, today, synopsis of
UFO, Shelton Bullet,
Sasquatch, Bigfoot.
and Sasquatch.
Okay, show of hands, please, on that one. Dusty's team. Okay, very good. That's great. Who was the next one? Eric, a quick synopsis.
Further away in time.
Eric's still recovering from a large dose of psychedelics. Half on Eric. Okay, no, we're just doing nonverbal, but don't hold back. There was one more, Peter.
My free putt on the blindfold putt hole.
So what was it again?
Three putt.
No, the three putts that you,
Blindfold.
that was statistically impossible, but you did. Okay, hands up. Anybody for that? Hands up?
No.
A few. Okay.
Sorry, Peter, you're out.
That's right. So, Robert, Matt, this is more important than the scores. How are we doing, guys?
Coyote lady.
Do we have a runoff? Do we want to have a runoff with the highest two?
The coyote lady was more.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner. Miss Jen, please stand up. You have a big thing, Jen. We got the hat. We got the hat. We have a special award for the coyote as well. Yes, we do that after, definitely. Congratulations. Okay, and then how about a large, big hand for the strangest panel right over here. And we would not be here except for Mr. Michael Murphy. So, continues, please support us with the auction. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Have a great time. Stay weird. Thank you.